of our favorites, man. He's been on here one time, and we had so much fun. We did Jimi Hendrix, and he's returning tonight, and we are going to tackle the great Creedence Clearwater revival. Now, we reserved this for you because your last podcast, we all talked about how much we love CCR.
Yes, we
So,
did.
and you agreed, yeah, or you offered to bring your acoustic. So we're going to have some good video for that. So tonight we're doing top five CCR, which is not an easy task whatsoever. Of course, our honorable mentions. So before we get into it, let's thank our sponsors, Spices Smokehouse Crackers, Robert and Lynn. Fantastic job for us. Brindley's Family Pharmacy. We recently teamed up with them to do some Halloween shenanigans. We'll leave it at that. Old Shotgun Willie over there. And of course, Busted Oak Bourbon Society. You'll catch me and Percy at the bar on Saturdays between 10 and 4. And it's a great brunch and a great time. So before we get into it, I mean, Jeff, how long you been listening and playing CCR?
Oh God, 15. The very first time I heard him. The very first time I heard him, it was you know, I loved him. It was just like we were all made to read like Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn,
That's
and back in the 70s and 80s, that I wanted to be that. I wanted to
right.
float down the river, and we had so much fun outdoors, and they were so amazing, and they just take you on a ride every time you heard
They will. They sort of captured soul, folk, country, rock, blues, and whipped it up into a cocktail, and it sent you places, man. A lot of people, a lot of people actually know they're not from Louisiana. They're not from
That's
Mississippi.
crazy.
Yeah. They're California boys. Fogarty moved to San Francisco early in his life. His mom and dad were from Montana and moved to California. And they Percy was mentioned earlier. They said sort of came on the scene right around Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead, and there's some of that psychedelia uh, still in it.
It's kind of on the back end. We had this talk with Jeff about their first album was kind of the back end, and there's hints of psychedelia in that first album that they did. Along with if you listen to the Dead's first album, there's some
Sure.
hints of that heavy psychedelia. You know what I'm talking about? In their first album, it
Yeah.
seemed like it was just like the back end till they really found their sound.
Yeah. Right. Took them a little bit, but they found it. And the CCR story is pretty wild. The brothers struggle, the band breakup, the lawsuits. I don't know if we're going to get in that whole discussion. There may be some things pop up as we get into them.
I want to, John and Tom. Everybody knows they had their differences and they split. And John would tell everybody, "Hey, I came for Thanksgiving, I came for Christmas, and played nice." And the guy, I think his name was Saul Vance, that sued John for plagiarizing his own songs and
Yes,
basically
I read that too.
sent his career into a tailspin.
hmm
Tom was on his deathbed, and John went to see him. And Tom looked at him and said, "Saul Vance is my best friend."
That's the guy.
I mean, why would anybody do that? And John said he couldn't believe it. It just tore him up.
Yeah, it wrecked him. Hurt his feelings pretty bad. And then he still had to go to court. And to prove to the court that this was original music, he played for them in court. Here was this song, and now here's my new one, and he won in court. I mean, it's like telling BB King the same. I mean, of course, if you're an artist, John Fogerty, number one, wrote most of their songs, if not all of them.
Yes.
Sang it, played guitar, played sax. He could play anything. He was pretty much CCR, but as a band, they were musically tight.
And the last album that they did with Revival was Mardi Gras.
Yes.
And that's the album that John said everybody came to me and wanted to be a democracy. He said, "I've been writing all the songs. I've been producing." And he said they wanted to be a democracy. He said, So I gave in. And there's maybe 3 songs on that album that's good, and a lot of the other guys are singing, and it's not good.
Yeah,
Right.
it's trash.
They
They're
should
worst
stay
selling
in
album.
their lane. You know.
I mean, the songs that John did on that album, they're good songs, but the other ones, they're just trash.
So it's tough. It's a retelling story of band, how they end up breaking up. I think a lot of it's I think it's ego driven. Um, but in Fogerty's case, he did sing. He wrote most of them. He put a lot of the music together. He was CCR in so many ways, but again, the band they were really tight musically. So
Yeah, the drum fills, the intros they
oh,
come in,
goodness.
they're kind of good. They just let you
They
move
are.
before he
They,
comes in.
I was talking with somebody this week as far as CCR being one of those bands where we played Name That Tune.
Hmm.
You know what? You can name that tune
Yeah.
as CCR because the opening riffs are just so
Mhm.
recognizable. So
He,
part of American fabric.
and he was real. The whole like Buck Owens and the country scene was going on.
There he is, right?
In
Mercy
Bakersfield, and the California country rock and Billy was big. The whole from Johnny Cash to Buddy
I
Holly.
mean,
That's what they grew up on.
the dad got into that scene too
Mhm.
with that whole, when they made, this is off subject, when they made American Beauty, Jerry said, I want to make a country rock, a Southern California country rock album. And that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they grew from that scene, and then, gosh, in 1 year they released 3 albums. They were just on fire.
They really were.
They were on fire, and I love it. It's hard. Do y'all have a favorite album?
I do.
To it. What's yours first?
Cosmos Factory.
Yeah.
And you know that Doug Clifford's nickname was Cosmo?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a favorite album of theirs, Jeff?
No, not really.
But have to say it's Willie and the Poor Boys for me. I mean, and it'll be evident when we get into our list and all that. So.
And it helps that I have Cosmos Factory on vinyl.
Oh, sure does. Yeah. Yeah. It's all different when you listen to it on the album.
And when I go back and researched all this, I didn't know John and was it Stu were drafted.
Yes.
Had to go. It's
And John found his, I don't want to say way out, but he went into the reserves and was honorably discharged.
Right.
So there's no issue there. But they were all, that was a time when these guys were worried about that.
Yeah, they
were
really
they going
were.
to get drafted to go to Vietnam? And, which,
Billy got fortunate son out of that.
oh, yeah, definitely fortunate.
Well, when he got home and he got his honorable discharge, he wrote one of their most popular songs right after that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave that one alone for the moment, but
yeah, he also did cartwheels at the front yard. You imagine the relief. Imagine the relief. So very aware people. John Fogerty is a genius musically. The band was great. The proof is in the pudding. And let's get into the pudding.
Yes.
Let's talk about our honorable mentions. And with that being said, Percy, what you
and
got?
make no mistake, this is not tapioca pudding. This is good stuff.
No, that's
All right,
who likes tapioca anyway?
nobody.
Uh,
Maybe
yeah,
maybe Cosmo Kramer like
yeah, probably so.
tapioca pudding. My first honorable mention, and it just kind of sticks with me, and it's not really the lyrics or anything, and it's Crosstown Walker.
Oh boy.
That song to me has just got a great groove to it,
I
like
love
most
it.
of their songs.
A little deeper dive.
My next honorable mention is a song we actually played earlier, and
Yes, we did.
I want to go ahead and apologize for my
it'd be great to play
gravel in the
on that. And we did the midnight special, and it's modern times. There is video of that, folks.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, we'll release this.
Forever
Y'all
and
can
ever.
all slam me.
And I think most of y'all know this was just an old prison song, and it was first written in print in 1905 and commercially recorded in 1926. You talk about Johnny and all his prison stuff, but Leadbelly recorded a version of this at Angola prison.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about a train that runs by a prison, and that light is from the train. Shine a light on it.
Yeah, I knew Lead Belly did it, but I wasn't sure. And it's
The-
been done a
The
lot.
first time I ever heard it, we had this discussion with Johnny Rivers.
Hmm.
And my dad loved Johnny Rivers and passed that on to me. And Johnny Rivers does a great job with it.
He sure does.
And my last honorable mention was the B-side. And this song, As Long As I Can See the Light.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my favorite one.
And we did an episode on sax songs with the saxophone. And,
Yeah.
and that song is just
And that's
great.
Fogarty playing sax in the studio.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
Wow. And then very well.
Yeah. It's pretty
We
crazy.
used to play that in a couple of different bands, and it's one of those to just make you feel good, you know.
Yeah.
Great thing about their stuff, it just, whatever kind of mood you're in, it's gonna lift you up.
If think of a CCR song. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, it's your honorable mentions first.
It is.
Good choice, Jeff.
Okay, so
Maybe you have to whittle this down from a
Well-
whole bunch.
I've got 14 honorable mentions, and was just gonna pick one, but I think I'll go with Lodi.
It's a great song.
And it's a shame that it's an honorable mention, but there's just not enough room in the top 5, and I love it. I can relate to it. My other one is Long As I Can See the Light,
Great.
and this one right here is really special to me. It's Someday Never Come.
It's great. And you know what it's about. His father left when he was young, and Percy, you know the story.
Yeah,
Tell
well,
it.
his dad left him, and he's like, it's kind of obvious in the song.
Yes.
He's like, someday you'll understand.
And someday never comes.
Well, it's like the
He was,
cat in the cradle type
Yep.
feeling. And if there was a Creedence song that made you feel a little down, this would probably be.
That's probably it.
and he had a tough time with his first son. He left him pretty much with his
Yeah.
wife. And that was kind of the culmination of that whole song, like someday never comes. And we live in a society of broken families for the most part.
Right.
Jeff,
In so many ways.
you were blessed, and you were blessed.
I was blessed.
Blessed too in the end, but anyway, that's so many of us came from broken families, and you can relate to that,
Yes.
Sure.
especially if you've had a parent that wasn't
Present.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's a good word. I was digging for one. Thank you.
Percy, correct me. He eventually, when they split up, he was sort of relieved a little bit because he got to go home and spend time with his family.
Well, somewhat, and he was still struggling with his relationship with his son, but he tells the story about how the wife he's got now, that when he met her, this was his statement, that it thawed out his heart.
Yes.
Because
That's exactly what he said.
he said he didn't know how to be vulnerable.
And when he wrote "Joy of My Life,"
Mhm.
and Chris Stapleton is doing it now. When he come out with the what year was it? His live album.
Right.
It was kind of like
Was it like Premonition or something?
yes,
where
really did. It's a really good one, and he had that one on there, and he played dobro on it, and I always love that song.
when he did Blue Moon Swamp, that was
Mm-hmm.
a pretty good album.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It's great. All right. What else you got? Was that
it.
3? That was 3. Okay. Right. That was tough. Pick 3 out of
It
14.
was. I got so many good ones left.
All right. Probably flip me off when I say this, but my first honorable mention is Fortunate Son. Love the song. Had to make my list somewhere,
I get it.
but my favorites just.
I have to tell this story. We have a girl at work,
No.
and one day out of the blue, this song was on satellite radio. We have satellite radio, and it was Fortunate Son, and this was me and one of the salesmen died laughing, but it was from the speaker up above her head, and the part where it says "It ain't me," she was just sitting there singing Vietnamese. Messed me up. And now every time
Vietnamese. I hear that song. You are. It's my time. What day? Well, I can't sing that. I gotta get noodle bowl. Yeah, it's out of your head the next time you oh yes. That's a ruiner. That's a funny story. All right, my next honorable mention is Run Through the Jungle.
Yes, I love it.
It's great. It's one of those where the vibe, the starting vibe sets the tail, which goes into my next honorable mention. Um, it's a different vibe, completely reverses to more of an upbeat, and it came out of the
Oh
sky.
yeah,
It's a great story. It's why I like that song so much. Jody basically saw a UFO crash into his pasture, and there was an alien in it, and he said it was Marjan. He didn't say Martian. And BC wanted this thing. The Vatican said it belongs in Rome. And Jody said, well, you can have it for 17 million. Just great
yeah,
story
it is.
song. And yeah, that one is to me is a forgotten CCR. Not everybody remembers it. It's off of Willie and the Poor Boys, but it will make the playlist. And it's a fun song to listen to. So
That
that's
got
my
obsessed with aliens.
They were.
51.
Yeah.
The government's not. Everything was.
Yeah, good tie-in.
Yeah.
Tie-in for that for sure. All right. Let's break into top fives. Perky, what's your number five? It's getting serious.
Oh yeah.
Five and Whippy maybe the only one that knows this song. And it's off the Mardi Gras album, which was their last album. And it's Looking for a Reason. And it's the closest thing that they did to a country song.
Right, Wilkie knows that. He's giving the old
And
Wilkie number
so
out there.
that
Yeah.
it's just totally different for them, in my opinion. And it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, great choice. All right.
That was.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of country, how about the Blue Ridge Rangers? Was it? That was his second band. Or the let's see, I wrote it down.
Really familiar with that? Are you?
Blue Ridge Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, another band. And one of the great songs that he did, like in his solo career, he did a duet with Don Henley, and they did Garden Party.
Okay.
Great, great
That'd
song.
be awesome. Yeah. All right. My number five? Yes, number five. Yeah, it's on you.
All right. I have got Looking Out My Back Door.
Good choice.
Number five. And we were talking about how does a San Francisco kid put himself and the Cajuns were arguing whether he was from this town or
Let's
this
see.
town.
Where in Louisiana, the Mississippi Delta, were they from? He had me fooled into my 30s.
Yeah, well, they did. You want to tell us who was mentioned in that song, Face?
What's that?
You want to tell us who was mentioned in that song? Come on, you can do it.
He's singing to it in his
Drawing a
head.
blank. Help a brother out.
You know who's mentioned in that song. I'm not going to play this game with you. Go ahead, Jeff.
From what? I don't know.
Which you're still doing your pig.
Okay.
Buck Owens was mentioned in that song.
Oh yeah, he had mentioned that earlier. Listening to Buck Owens,
I drew a blank too.
Let him say it.
No.
So
I mentioned him earlier. He's right there in that baseball card above the cream poster. He stares at me every Wednesday.
as well as
That's why he placed him there, was to look at me and say, I'm here forever.
I want you to walk. His eyes will probably follow you if you walk back and forth. Like
It's
that.
haunting me personally.
It's like that episode of Andy Griffith from the paintings. The eyes will follow you.
Stop it. True. Yeah, he's looking at me now. So my number five then, one of the best opening grooves of any song I ever heard. Can you guess it, Jeff?
Susie Q.
No. To me, it's a little bit better than that.
Uh,
And I've been watching some of these reaction videos to some of these rappers that do the reaction stuff, and I bet I've seen 8 of them today.
yeah, I don't know.
Born on the Bio.
Where the body is good.
Takes you to an instant.
It really does.
And that's where they got labeled. And it's a good segue. And we didn't script this. We were talking about people thinking they were from Louisiana or the Delta.
Mm-hmm.
That song's Reason to me.
read about how when he wrote that song, they were opening up. They were the opening number. They were nobody.
Yeah.
And he was up there playing, and
They cut the power.
they cut the power. Stop. So we don't let nobody. You ain't never gonna let nobody.
Actually happened. That makes sense. Well, Folky basically had to. We'll show you.
Yeah, give me a year. That's what
Yeah,
he said.
give me a year.
Give me a
We'll show you. And then 3 albums.
Sure
That's
did.
my number 5.
Could you hear that voice and say you ain't?
So bluesy.
That's awesome.
He cuts through the BS and it's right to the heart. I was talking with somebody earlier, and we are trying to talk about, when you talk about blues and soul, I don't want this to sound, there's not too many white dudes' names that come up. Fogerty, Greg Allman.
Yeah.
But Fogerty, man, he has such a bluesy voice.
Oh, Delbert McClinton.
Delbert, yeah,
is pretty good.
yeah.
And you either got it or you don't. I mean, you can you can sing it like them, but I've heard people that are just anointed. They just got it.
And that folk, he was definitely anointed with that. So great voice. He was the bomb. All right, Purse, you're number 4.
My number 4, we mentioned this when we first got here this evening, and it's Cotton Fields, written by Leadbelly. And anybody want to guess who performed this song at the age of 13 on TV?
No idea. It's got to be epic. It's great.
Jimmy Page.
And Jimmy Page, of all people.
Well, those people, and I'm sure Jeff knows this, that
I've never put that.
No.
Some of the influences they had, one of his favorite guitarists, Jimmy Page's, was Link Ray.
Mm-hmm.
He loved Link Ray. I never did really see that, but Jimmy loved him.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
great choice. 4 for you, Jeff.
All right, down on the corner.
There we go.
Love that song.
That's
Love everything it stands for.
Just again an opening riff.
You can just see the sight.
It's on the album cover too.
And
They just made that great album cover where they're playing on the corner and Willie and the Four Boys were there dancing around.
yeah, I can just see it as this
Epic.
going.
Yeah. My 4 is the same as Percy's. Cotton Fields. It's a great song. It was also, we talked about a couple of their songs being in a very famous movie, which is one of my favorite movies ever, and it's Cool Hand Luke, featuring Paul Newman. They were on a road prison, whatever. And there was a guy on there that Midnight Special, and he sang Cotton Fields. And that's probably the first time I heard it, because that movie is old. Yeah, he is older than me. So going with Cotton Fields, love it. And if you hadn't heard it, you'll enjoy it. All right, nitty gritty time. This top 3. Percy, what you got?
My number 3 is it's one of their, to me, more emotional songs. And he wrote this song after an argument he had with his wife.
Yeah.
And it's Wrote a Song for Everyone.
Oh yeah.
And he says, wrote a song for everyone, but I still couldn't.
But I couldn't even talk to you.
I mean, and that's just, it's a natural, like John said, it's a natural human emotion. I mean,
And it is such an forgotten song of theirs. Not every, you mentioned it to somebody and they're like, I love the song. Mentioned another person, I'm like, I don't know it.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite songs, period. We'll get to that. Nitty gritty. Number 3 for you, Jeff.
Number 3, Proud Mary.
Good one.
And just growing up on the river, and when I was a kid, a teenager, I had my sleeping bag in my trunk and my pillow, and we would go to Buck's Pocket and camp out down in the primitive.
Absolutely.
And that's the only one we wouldn't get kicked out of.
Yeah.
And
bring your guitar.
And bring my guitar and just sit around the campfire. And it's just I played about every Creedence song, at least that I got on my list.
They're friendly. Creedence songs are friendly to acoustic guitarists.
Yes, they are.
And now you play any time.
Sing along.
I mean, they're great sing-alongs. It's feel good music.
It is.
All right, great choice.
And that was a song he wrote after he got his discharge.
Mm-hmm.
Right after he got his discharge.
Okay.
Proud Mary.
That fact I did not know. All right, good stuff. All right, my number three. I love it. As long as I can see the light.
Yes.
I have played that song for me in so many personal struggles, situations, your anger. Yeah, just as long as I can see the light.
Played it at church at CR.
It's going to. This song is going to church.
It works, man. I mean, it's just it's spiritual. It
Yes.
really is. Put a candle in the window.
Yeah.
You know, it's just.
And his vocals, he stretches them out a little bit in some of those slower parts, and it just puts you right smack dab in the mood. So anyway, love the song. Surprised I didn't put it at my number one, but more to come. Number two, Percy.
My number two's already been mentioned, but there's no way I could leave this song off, and it's "Someday Never Comes."
Oh, yeah.
Good choice.
And that song is just,
I do love that.
to me, it's not my number one, but out of all of their songs, that song just emotionally moves me more
Yes.
than any.
Well, I can see where it tugs on your heartstrings more than it would.
Probably, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true, yeah.
Yeah. But I will tell you, he's not talking when it opens, but he's singing so slow, it's almost like he's telling you a little story, a little bit almost, and then gets into it. Great choice. I'm gonna listen to a bunch of this tonight. The playlist, I'm sure Percy is going to load up. This will be an awesome CCR playlist, and I promise you, this is one. Hit shuffle and have a nice day.
Yeah.
And have a nice day.
We talked about they were nowhere near a country band, but the stories that they wrote, that's a great correlation with country music.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I guess a lot of that was coming from that SoCal scene, you know,
Yeah.
the country rock that was going on in California then. But
Yeah.
they told great stories. Some people have the ability to tell stories even if they didn't live them.
Right.
And that was John was like that. Bruce was like that.
Bruce was like
I mean,
that bunch. Yeah, it was the magic. They called it the magic.
And he could sing about just the weirdest stuff.
Oh,
No,
out from it. He's thinking about aliens landing in a bathroom.
And it's like some of it don't even make any sense as he's singing, but it does make sense with the whole context of the song.
It does.
It's so crazy.
Like once you listen to it one or two times, I get this. Good stuff.
it works.
Yeah. Number two.
Well, for me, couldn't leave out. Have you ever seen the rain?
Yeah, such a piece.
To me, you know, the songs that I didn't pick are just as important as the ones I did. And you know, this one's just, you know, as far as quality, it's right up there with
is.
any song written.
It's now a
Rock
fact
song,
song.
yeah.
First, you got any comments on that one?
No, I don't see how it could be left off.
And he did a lot of rain songs. You know,
It did.
Yeah, I mean,
it was
there
Blinked
was,
off the rain.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's another one.
I love that.
Willie Nelson did a great cover of that.
Maybe.
I think it might have been with his daughter Paula. Wookie might know more than I do on that, but he did a great cover of "Have You Ever Seen the Rain?" And on a side note, Willie's got a new album out, and he does a great version of Warren Zevon's "Keep Me in Your Heart" for a while.
Oh man.
Which makes me sad because when Warren wrote it, he was dying.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he was going to die of cancer. But he had to finish the album. And when you sent that to me, you text that to me the other night. Now Willie's sitting on 91 now.
Well, I mean, did you see Jeff? Did you see him on Austin City Limits when they did the YouTube concert for the 50th anniversary of the pilot?
It was great.
It was great, but he looked rough.
Yeah.
He's got on.
I've seen some of the recent pictures, you know, and a lot of our old rocker guys, the pictures they post on there are not what they look like now. You know, I mean, they're unfortunately.
Well, that's such a great song, and I'm glad you mentioned it, Percy. We're big Willie fans here, and
Me too.
it just struck a chord for me that he did that song. It's almost like I'm almost there. Keep me in your heart.
That documentary was really good.
Yeah.
That they put out.
Yeah, great.
It was.
All right, so that's number two. My number two, wrote a song for everyone. It's hard to mention, but you can ask Amanda. This has been one of my favorite songs, period. My one and two would be in my top 10 favorite songs of all time. And
Mhm.
Percy knows what my number one is. I've stood on it forever. This is up there. I just love the song, and I love the story that you shared with everybody. It's 110% accurate.
Yes.
Good stuff. And when you know the story, and then you go back and listen to it, we've had this conversation before, which I think is why this podcast can be really fun. Because if someone hears about the story behind the song and then they go listen to it again, you're coming from a completely different perspective
Yeah.
for that particular song. So,
Love all the behind the music and the
It's a shame we still don't have that.
songwriters. Remember when they used to be
Yeah.
songwriters? One of my favorite things.
Oh, and I miss you remember pop-up videos?
we've talked about that. You learned all about this crappy music and then, well, not crappy, but you learned a lot.
Song you still learn something.
You did, yeah. I think that you want to watch it. So, that was good stuff. All right. Number ones. Percy. We're down.
My number one is, and I told Face this last week that it'll never change for me, and it's proof positive that Creedence could have been a jam band. And
Oh, absolutely.
it's the first track from Cosmos Factory, and it's Ramble Tamble.
I mean, like that song, man. I mean,
There's like no word structure really to it, but musically, how it the groove at the first of it, and then they slow it down, and then they pick it back up, and then about the last minute they slow it back down again, and then they pick it back up with that groove. And to me, that was a song that said we could have been a jam band if we
Yeah.
wanted to.
yeah, I mean, they could have.
And they probably were.
Sure, there's probably some
Yeah.
live track that we haven't heard, or maybe we have, where they just go off into
Yeah.
a jam. They got the talent for it. All right, good choice.
Not everybody had the foresight, like the Grateful Dead, to say, bring all your recorder devices.
I mean, that's a whole different, but that's true. All right, Jeff.
Green River.
Okay, all right.
I love
Good choice.
To me, that's
Drop the mic.
that's the pinnacle. You know, I mean, it's everything Creedence stands for to me, and I love it.
Yeah, there's a little story
Don't
behind
apologize.
that too. I mean, I think it's about where he grew up, and there was
River down the
yeah, right. Talking about that a little bit. So, barefoot girls dancing in the moonlight. Gosh,
and it's and it. I think everybody can relate to that because we all hit the river.
well,
during
in
that-
our not everybody can. They're not right.
Yeah.
Like we can. But, there are different parts of the country where obviously they did, but it strikes a nerve for us.
Love it.
You especially, I'm sure.
Mhm, it does.
All right, my number one. I already shamefully sang this with Jeff in the lobby, and it's Midnight Special.
Oh yeah.
And that has been one of my favorite songs forever. I love the story behind it. I love Fogerty's vocals. I love how it starts out just like a little bluesy, and then they get into the chorus, and they got you.
Oh yeah.
They got you. So that's my number one.
They had that tremolo effect on all the amps back then. That wow 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 like that, and it was. So you heard stuff. Pink Floyd had it a good
Yep.
bit on it.
Absolutely.
And the amps that came out a little later in the 70s had phaser on them built in, so it's got that underwater kind of sound like Barracuda.
Swampy.
And remember Alabama used it on Tennessee River,
Tennessee River.
and it's just
Right when they start.
yeah, right there.
Yeah.
So a lot of it comes with what was available at the time that they were making.
Oh, that's nice.
Good
That's
one.
good.
I like it.
All right. All right. Rick, you got a pick this week?
I do.
Well, do two.
Okay,
To it.
but this one's good for you.
Look, you're going to tell me what I'm going to say.
I'm not. But this one is a cover of Looking Out My Back Door.
Oh, shit.
And it's done by Buck's son, Buddy Allen Owen.
Oh man.
Well, did he? Good job.
It's a pretty good job. He don't sound like his dad. He don't sound like his
Yeah.
dad. But He did a whole album of covers actually, and he does pretty good with them.
All right, well, that's a good choice.
Not mind blowing, but he does respectable.
All right, I'm adding this week, one time only. I say one time only. It might happen again in another 2 years or so.
Okay.
Basis Big to go with Percy's. As long as I can see the light by Joe Cocker. I've got it.
Oh,
on here
yeah.
to add. It's just he changes the mood to the song a little bit. He's got a little bit.
Well, y'all talked about Natural White Blues Man.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
Joe's good.
And Joe,
Why he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I have no idea.
Joe's bad those people.
Jump or jump.
Well, Joe said I'm a fat white bald man singing the blues.
Sweating like a pig. Yes, this is so.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
We got an interesting one. We got Michael Sanders coming on here. Michael the Great calls Super Dude. We're going to tackle something that it's going to be a little tough, and it's going to be multi-genre artists. So those artists, whether it's a band or a solo, that
Big cross borders.
they cross borders. So it opens it up. There's some obvious, but I'd like to see us sort of dig into, some really special stuff on that.
Now, are you talking effectively? Because they are the ones that have went country that like, that didn't really work.
We're going to have to, yeah.
Let's rock and roll.
Well, if you want to put it on your list, and I would say you
Bless
better
your heart.
with it being a
Yeah, it's effectively.
college. I love rock and roll. I don't think it's going to make the list. But
Bless you.
imagine Grateful Dead might be on there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of it that was unintentional.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, in the 70s, even Steely Dan kind of delved into that country rock thing.
They
What was
did.
that album? And it was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
But then you have the 70s too, where also people went from the country to the pop. So you're crossing over there.
It's weird. And there was a lot of, if you look at definitions of this, there's a lot of bands that are called blues, rock, psychedelia. I don't, in my mind for next week, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, because you can call rock and blues,
Right.
that's just
Yeah.
saying, I want to look for that artist that actually made a clear cut crossover, whether it's one song or they just did it. So we're looking forward to that next week. It should be a lot of fun. Jeff, you got anything coming up you want to talk about?
No. Doing just playing church, and
Well, I would tell everybody needs churching.
everybody needs.
I try to go every Sunday
Yes,
I
sir.
can. Maybe we can snag you at Christ Episcopal one day.
Yeah.
We'll have you set
I've
up.
been
We've got
forward.
a violin player. She's great.
Yeah.
An organist, Ralph Strong. They do a great job.
I love that big organ.
Yeah,
Very good.
it's a beautiful church. I'd love to have you there one day. But if y'all want to go see some talent, go to church. Check Jeff out, man.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
at First Methodist in the morning. Early service at 8:45, and I'm at Life Point CR 6 o'clock on Sunday night.
It's awesome. It's a good time. So give it an effort. God would appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And we all would too. So great episode. Playlist will be out, Apple and Spotify.
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to be a whopper. Always good to have you here, Jeff.
Good to be here.
Thanks for everything you do. You want to come back again?
Yeah.
And don't forget that we have the live video. Well, not live, but we have our video podcast on YouTube now.
Yeah. Follow us and like us and on YouTube. We got a YouTube channel. We're really trying to promote it. We appreciate any support you can give us on that. And we'll have some stuff coming up real soon. Jeff, thanks again. Wilkie, Percy, love y'all.
Thank
This
you,
is
guys.
great.
Love you.
And all I got to say is bye-bye. That was awesome.